We're at the top of the hour. I managed to get everything working. Thanks, Martin, for helping that. We're vibing. It's the 18th of June. I guess the I'm just gonna get right into it because why not? We found a place to do our San Francisco meetup next month.
Yes.
So the 23rd in the South Bay at the Plug and Play center. I think it's that startup accelerator that they have there, and I think there's like 1,200 people in that building, all doing AI and startups. So it's a great building for us to do it in, and so appreciate Jason LaBarbera for helping get that all set up. So I think I'll be flying in that week, doing some business in the Bay Area. Let's see if anyone else is in the area. Let's set some things up. Um, and I think there's a few folks from the cognitive team probably coming in as well. So that'll be an exciting week for us. Yeah, Rob, what's happening?
Yeah, that's definitely one to make a trip for.
Yeah,
That's
should be good.
Thursday the 23rd, right? July 23rd. Yes. Yeah, excellent. That's going to be exciting. And then we've got a couple others going on. We've got Whitehaven is next week in
And
the
that's
UK.
UK. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. Yeah, and that's going to be their I believe that's their inaugural kickoff meetup.
Hmm.
And then Chicago as well next Thursday. So should be lots of neat content going out. And good heavens, some really big evolutions. I've been really curious as to what it would be that you would have explored with 4 days of Fable to get a little boost of insights and what kinds of thoughts you've been chasing down in the meta harness world. So I'm really excited to see what you got cooking.
Yeah, while I had Fable, it was really useful as a comparative harness. Now, there's a lot of talk on how they created essentially the Mythos model, and in the general consensus, they never published a paper or anything, but the general consensus was they used a form of self-learning or regressive or recursive self-learning as a process that basically allows the internals of the model to adapt and sort of loop upon itself in a more sort of understandable way. It learns problems based on the question being asked of it. And there was a popular implementation that popped out, I think, a couple days ago called Open Mythos, based on that same style. So what that allowed me to do as soon as the model came out was go from a kind of hypothetical to a baseline that I could compare it against. And although it wasn't perfect in terms of fidelity, the it's pretty clearly a model that adapts, right? And it's a model that more understands the problem set to it more efficiently than previous models. So there's some form of recursion, whether that's happening in the form of how they're retraining their models in a static fashion and then just allowing them to get better more quickly, or some kind of internal reasoning component is unclear. But my guess is it's some kind of recursive reasoning component that they put inside of it. But what was interesting about all that is that allowed me to then say, well, interestingly, I now have the basis of a model that's more recursive, and I can tie that into other models. So the question became, well, how can I do the inverse of Mythos? How can I create a model that's cheap and adaptive, but not based on a changing model, but based on the idea that the harness itself could change. Sorry, I just muting some people. I heard someone on a bicycle or something there. Unmute yourself if you want to say something. Um, so that led to a meta harness idea, and that's what I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff this week. But the meta harness is something that actually, Rob, you did a great presentation on in Hungary there about a week ago, and it was definitely part of the inspiration for sort of an inverse look at how the model doesn't have to change. What surrounds the model should change, adapt, and evolve. And what
Hmm.
are your is that
Yeah,
kind of
that's it. I mean, it's the concept at any scale, yeah, in and around a system of paying attention and the ability to recognize opportunities for adjustments and improvements and then testing and offering them back to the system. That concept of a meta harness, and I haven't had a chance to dive into the repo since you've released it. So I'm, but it's already got like what, 1,000 downloads or something?
No, well, no, 1,000. Come on, man.
Uh,
It's
100,000, 10,000. Who knows?
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with you. No, let's. It has. I haven't actually announced it.
Right.
I've been just building it in public like I always do.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're at 8,000 downloads.
Uh-huh.
So not bad for something that was never. Well, I guess I'm sort of kind of announcing it now,
Yeah.
but I'm not. It's not done yet, right? So and I've got a great. I got to update this actually. It's not great. This is the wrong. It's actually Meta Harness. Like I said, I've got cleanup to do. The actual MPX is Meta Harness, which I can't believe was available. Anyway, so that's a great name for a package for sure. And because I know everyone loves pictures and UIs, I created a web-based version of it because, why not? So this will guide you through some of the creating harnesses. So there's essentially a few different harnesses that I've created here. So you got a repo harness, and the repo harness allows you to point it at some random, repo and a public repo anyway, and it'll then create a functional MPX that you can run against it. It includes all the pieces you need for various systems. So in this case, if I go and I'll do roof flow because I have it in there, and then I can create the harness, or I can let's do it one more time, and I can open in the builder. Then I can say I want it for PyDev or Hermes or OpenClaw, GitHub Copilot, and others. And the GitHub Copilot is for the 90% of the world that's stuck inside an enterprise. They all use it, so why not?
Yeah.
Um, so then you can choose different types of templates, minimal, DevOps. I've got a whole bunch of them, and you can customize it yourself using CLI if you want to, make it your own. But trading and education, medical, whatever it needs to be. So you can choose. You can see that the system changes slightly based on what it needs to do. You can choose how it handles composition. So I get a better. I gotta get Ofer on the UI, but there is a UI. It's not CLI, so that's a plus, I guess. So I might make this a search bar or something. But right now I just dumped it all out. So these are all the different options you have. So you can choose, how the harness will sort of operate. All the features you want. I also built this in, by the way, into Roo Flow system. I just published that this morning or last night, I think it was. So if you go there, if you install the marketplace, and I'm going fast here, in plugins, there should be a 34th plugin called, what the heck did I call it?
Nice.
Harness, I guess, or Meta. Yeah, it is Meta Harness. So yeah, so now there's a meta harness component for Roof Flow. What this means, and it's not a wrapper, it's actually completely integrated into the platform. What this means is you can get your Roof Flow harness working in the way you want, train it over an extended period, and then you can export your Roof Flow and make your own NPM or MPX out of it. So you can customize it and then publish it or privately or publicly, and this will help. It has built-in scoring. So what this does is allows you to sort of find the optimal model for it at the cheapest price. Um, you get threat detection. Be careful with that one. I that was one that I was. That's how I was able to essentially find the holes in the fable and basically have it do whatever I wanted. So be careful with that one. You could get in trouble if you don't use that one correctly. But basically, that'll help you sort of, let's say red team, blue team, red team models. Don't do it for bad, or I'll have to, whatever. All right, so yeah, so you've got the agents, meta harness architect. That this will architect this. The quickest and easiest way to do it is probably just to use this plugin. You can add it to your if you've already got the Roof Flow installed, you just update your marketplace and it'll show up as the 34th option. I think they're alphabetical, so just scroll down to M.
Nice.
You get different. The genome is the basis of the. What the genome does is creates the sort of evolution. So it's self-evolving. It creates a harness. It tests the harness against different models. I'm using Open Router for the most part, and then says what's the model that provides the cheapest and best capability, at the least amount of cost. So meta harness, what's new, how to use it in June 20th. So this is some of the what we'll cover today. And I'm just scratching. I'm not even getting to the thing I built last night, which is also absolutely insane. I don't even know what we'll get into that here in a few minutes. But before we do, what else is happening? Who, how's it? How's everyone doing? I've got a new. Let's see here. I'm gonna show off. Chris and the crew at Cognitive got me a present. Here, I'm gonna show you guys. It's awesome. They made my AI real.
Yeah.
Check it out. Oh, oh, stop. Okay, stop. I gotta turn off tracking. Here we go. Stop tracking me. All right, here we go. Yeah, this is awesome. I
Yeah.
can I set it to 40 hertz. Like what you just want to zoom in on me all the time, I guess. All right. Anyway, I set it to 40 hertz. So essentially it's also doing is attempting to stimulate my neural pathways as it sits. So I don't know if you saw there was research that was done recently that basically said that if you do a light-based therapy at 40 hertz or somewhere around 40 hertz, it'll
Yep.
actually reprogram your brain and has a cleansing effect. And for some people with dementia and Alzheimer's, it actually will start reversing the effects of Alzheimer's. I don't know if this is going to do anything other than make me feel like I'm smarter, but in fact, so I programmed it using an ESP32. This one running right here, and
Hmm.
this is in review currently. If anyone wants to reprogram their brain, use at your own risk. So what this does, this provides a mechanism for the timing itself. So I use the deterministic timer of the ESP32, and then I attached it to the connector for the neon. I don't know. I think it's LED, but it looks like neon. And then I can adapt and adjust the timing of the light. So I can go crazy mode. Hopefully that and each mode has different you know I'm gonna go back to normal because it's giving me a headache, but yeah, so each mode can be then tied into other systems. I've got a second part to it because I'm a maniac. I've got a brain EEG scanner that's coming, and the brain EEG scanner can directly measure. I don't have it yet. I have it next couple days. Will directly measure my EEG rate, and then it can synchronize the lighting to my brainwave pattern and optimize both of them at the same time. Hypothetically, I need to get the device, but the research is there. I don't know if anyone's seen the research or not, but apparently, let me just Google it. 40 Alzheimer's research. Yeah, here it is. Is MIT came out recently. I think in March. I think it was. Evidence that 40 hertz gamma stimulation promotes brain health is expanding. So basically, I just took this research, and after decades, scientists at the Institute for Learning and Memory at MIT have begun and so. But here's what I think. I think each person has a unique sort of both chemistry and electrical sort of signature. I think 40 hertz is the middle. I think 40 hertz is like the average. So what I did is I said, what if I could measure your specific sort of optimal pattern and then adjust the lighting to your so whether that's 38.52 hertz or 41 point whatever hertz, it's gonna try to find your unique sort of electromagnetic signature, or actually brain-based signature, I think it is. And so what I did to do that, and again, use at your own risk, not a doctor. Um, so what I did is I created a system that, and I called this, because I'm lazy, I called it Root Neural. And this is something I built a while back, but and I created a UI for it because everyone wants a UI these days. And what this does is allows you to do very in-depth brain sort of analysis. Now, I'm missing the key part of the story here where I've actually got the ability to measure my brain. I've been stuck at the border. I guess they don't like brain self monitoring brain systems, but hopefully I get it here next day or so. But basically, it's a stimulus engine. It allows you to modify light and audio. So in this case, I've got my headphones on. I like the bone conducting headphones because it doesn't plug up my ears. But that essentially, so combining the light, I can then adjust the tone in a hertz pattern with the sort of bone conducting headphones I've got on, And the guys at Logitech sent me their latest MX Master mouse. This mouse has haptic feedback. So the haptic feedback I can then use for the not only the 40 hertz light audible, but also tactile. I have no idea what all these things are doing in unison with one another, other than the fact that according to the MIT guys, all these things can potentially improve your cognitive function, clear out plaque in your brain. Plaque in your brain sounds crazy to me. Like apparently that's one of the basis of dementia. And apparently at 40 hertz, your brain has a kind of auto cleaning mode, kind of like a defrag that gets turned on, and it cleans all that crap out of your brain, apparently, according to MIT. I popped the link in the chat here for anyone crazy enough to want to take a deeper look.
So
But
biological acceleration.
biological acceleration.
Hmm.
Now,
Groove, how do we reset you if you start talking backwards?
uh,
Yeah,
pull the okay. If anything ever happens to me, make sure that before you pull the plug, you do a deep sort of looped and figure out if you can turn me back on. I don't know, a couple slaps, maybe the pump on the heart.
some kind
I
of
don't know.
Thank,
Rube, one
Antonella.
thank you.
question. Yeah, this is super interesting. But so what I'm wondering is whether you can take this full circle. Okay, so here's the proposal for some intervention with this hertz, whatever. You have the other way, the other side as well. You can measure everything. You can measure your heartbeat, you can measure your whatever responses of all kinds of, and you can do experiments. So I just wonder whether you can do it plus minus, this intervention and monitor yourself, say for a week or whatever, and whether you can see the changes. But also, didn't see whether this is only for like dementia or Alzheimer's people. Obviously, you're not. So I don't know whether in your case it would make any difference, right? But it would be interesting to measure whatever you can measure with all kinds of devices, right?
Yes.
I I've got a health, so I've got all the health related things covered, as you probably are aware. So I
Of
can,
course.
as if there's a signal, I can get it and I can understand it for the most part. And when you look at the things that I've been building over the last,
Yep.
several months, they're essentially DSP, digital signal processors. And what I've done is I've essentially come up with a kind of unique way to separate signal from noise. And
Mhm.
whether that's a neon sign or random ESP32 sensors or a heart monitor, I'm looking at just the data that flows from it and then trying to understand it and learn and adapt,
Yep.
right? And
Hmm.
then you in the case of the haptic feedback and the neural and the so on, that's then a causation. That's basically saying hang on a sec. Am I coming through? I sent a weird message on Zoom that I've been signed out, but I think it's just because I'm
No,
signed in.
I
You're
can
good.
hear you.
Yep, we can
Okay.
hear
You're
you.
fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was two people signed in under the same account. They don't like that anymore. Um, anyway, so the idea of correlation becomes a really important part of the story. And to your point, Antoinetta, it's no one's all this type of stuff has only been available to clinical sort of large research organizations up until now, and all of a sudden we as individuals with a couple bucks and some Claude code can go and start figuring out things that are
Yep.
unique to us.
I'm just wondering whether you can detect some patterns that are going to deviate from your norm. Like maybe you talk faster, maybe you type faster, maybe you do, I don't know, some gestures that are different than the norm, with or without this, whatever, 40 gigahertz or whatever it was.
Anything to port it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not. It turns out I'm not the only crazy person. Midjourney is
Huh?
just as crazy as I am. I don't know if you guys saw the announcement today, but they came out with a medical device of all things that will do. Well, let's see what they're saying. Can you guys hear that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So they created a device that essentially will act as a kind of MRI using a waterfall and ultrasonics.
Waterfall and ultrasonics.
So basically, they're shooting an ultrasonic sound wave through the water and then using the vibration of that to do a full body scan.
Wow.
I'm totally building this. I've got everything I need. I've got the ultrasonic system. I've got the analysis. I've got maybe Brenda. She can get in the pool. No,
You got a
you know
better
what?
chance at seeing God.
You know who I'm gonna get? Nick. Nick will do it.
Yeah.
You know I'm up for that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know you're gonna be my model here. So
Look at
essentially,
you.
Ruest.
look at it. So apparently they built this home MRI system.
That's unbelievable.
That is incredible. So they're using the water and the frequency to create a signal that they can read as it passes through the human body.
Yeah. That's essentially what they built. Now I'm saying let's build this. If they can do it, then we can do it. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
don't think you need the water. That would just be for increased connectivity. You could do it through air.
The water is a transfer medium for the sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Air doesn't
But
conduct
would
the sound very
would
well.
you even need that though?
Yeah.
Just amplifies it, wouldn't it?
No, it conducts it better. It's a better conductor of origination point through the body the other side.
It's a long history
Yeah.
of sort of sub official medical machines called RIFE machines, RIFE. That's been around for decades. So
Not this not to this fidelity. So
No, now they've got the dynamic.
those are garbage. These are high fidelity, right? We're talking the ability to get, according to these guys, really detailed. Here's the technical. That was a very.
There we go.
Here we go. This is what I want. They don't like language. When you put it in, it vibrates like a speaker. Okay. When it hears sound, it makes energy like a microphone. Okay. These transducers act as both speakers and microphones. We have 9,000 transducers arranged in a grid. And each transducer is 200 microns wide, like a fine grain of sand. And over 50 nanometers wavelength of visible light. So imagine a choir of 8,600 singers, an audience of 8,600 all listening carefully. This is exactly my architecture, right? Separate transducers are controlled by a rate of 100 million times per section till they fire a pattern that sends out structured waves. And the waves travel at a speed of 1,481 meters per second. Okay. We construct a ring, 40 of these systems in centimeters and in diameter. I'm so building this. The ring contains 5,800 ultrasonic elements. The chip turns, sending out in waves. As the waves change, this is all just stuff they bought off Alibaba.
It's MinCut, right?
Are they even using MinCut? What would MinCut do to this?
The ability to separate out the sensitivity or very minute signals.
Noise reduction.
So each sensor resolves motion smaller than the width of an atom, not minute. And
look at that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is something. So what I think what I'm gonna attempt to do is figure out how they built it today, and then take a stab at maybe building our own. Does that sound like something might be interesting for us to build today?
You got a couple $100,000 to do it.
I'm gonna do it right now.
It seems pretty equipment heavy. Can you do it equipment light?
That's what we're gonna explore. I'm gonna
do it without a room full of equipment.
Can I just take a whole bunch of 60 millimeter radars, put them in a round circle, step in it, and blast myself with 60 gigahertz RF? Conceptually,
you might get something, but you won't get the resolution that they're going for.
How do you think they're getting such high resolution? Oh, hang on a second.
Because the small transducers and as many of them as that there are increases the sensitivity and what it's showing on the other end. The other thing that they're doing is when they put it in a ring, if you notice, they're activating sequentially. So they're hitting it from multiple angles and then building a 3D image from that standpoint and recombining it later. So you while you can do it, you're not going to get the fidelity or the image fidelity that they're getting right now.
And they're deconstructing or they're studying the interference patterns.
Yeah,
Correct.
collecting
So
slices, multiple slices, and then forming a 3D image in the end of the full almost cell
Have
level.
you used review with this?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I just want to figure out how they did it and reverse engineer it and then do something, like something. So they're getting slices, like an MRI, and then they're assembling the slices
because they're moving
across.
the ring. So this ring, if you look at it,
Well, hang
almost
on a sec.
looks
Did,
like
did you
an
see this?
aluminum piece. It's an aluminum piece with all the transducers embedded in each one of their units. Then that unit is combined into the ring, and then the ring is what's moving.
So check this out. They said that they're with two petaflops of compute power. So they're obviously using a more traditional learning model, probably diffusion, I would guess, given its mid-journey. And I think that possibly a contrastive approach would greatly reduce the computing resources. All we need to figure out is how to get those slices in the way that they're doing it in a we don't need the whole body. We just need the slice that we can assemble in the same sort of fashion. And then that does the scan, I think.
Well, if you think about it like images, it's just like motion capture imagery. Like each one of those units is an image, right? One B, one C, one D, all the way around. And then it's going to stack them. And also because the transducers are only going to have a limited projection field per se, that's where that ring is going to move. And then the water is the conductive medium that allows that sound to transfer from the transducer through the human and then in a sense reflective back.
Okay. So, so without water, we have to deal with the problem
Air.
of air.
Air is your
So
barrier. Air is a great barrier.
air. So we need to put Nick in a bathtub, like, and then blast the bathtub with some form of like RF or even what are they using? Like what are they actually shooting in this transducer?
That's the part that's probably going to be tricky because it's going to be
Sound.
whatever
Yeah.
the frequency is. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
It's
that
sound?
array.
Yes.
It's that sound array times every one of
Ultrasound.
those that are
Yeah.
around.
Well, okay. Let's look at what I've got currently. I'm just going to jump around here for a minute. So a while back, I built, what the heck did I call it?
By the way, that's
Uh,
not normal water. It's got to have a high salinity content.
oh, really?
Yes. More salt,
Alt.
better conductor.
Correct.
All right. So I created an ultrasonic system, but I used it for a different purpose. This was done last year, whatever that means. And so what this was is I was using 18 to 20 kilohertz. To be honest, I originally did this to see if I could like hypnotize people remotely. The answer is you can definitely do things in the ultrasonic range that you don't want to do. So be careful. I ended up taking that down because the GitHub guys said that was not cool. And anyway, don't use it for that purpose. But what it can do is, it can also translate messages. Now, the one thing to note with ultrasonics are a really weird sort of, area because your body can interpret them, but you can't hear them. And so ultrasonics work the same way as normal sound. So think about you're at a concert and your watch or whatever says it's too loud for you, but you hear that loudness, right? And it vibrates in your ears, you get ringing sensation. If you're too long in that loud environment, you can get sort of sick and nauseous, that kind of thing. Now, ultrasonics are weird because you can do the same, dB, but you don't hear it. So let's say, there's this thing called, I think, the Havana syndrome.
Mhm.
Most likely, what the Havana syndrome is these ultrasonics, some bad guy somewhere is blasting really, really loud ultrasonic noise at you, which you can't hear, but your body picks up on and makes you sick. And the side effects are like nausea and long-term sort of, mental and brain-related, issues. Because basically, think of like the loudest noise you can possibly think of, but you can't hear it. Don't use it for that sort of thing, obviously, but for using it for things like vibrations, you've got two options when it comes to sound. You've got subsonic frequencies, things that are below what we can hear. Subsonics would be like the ability to detect an earthquake before the earthquake happens. There's subsonic movements in the earth that create noises that you can't necessarily hear, but sensors pick them up. Or for example, back to the ghost hunter idea, when in an old building, an old house, that your pipes make noises, but most of those noises are actually subsonic. So it gives that kind of eerie sort of sensation of a ghost, and your brain interprets that in weird ways. That's subsonic. So you can play with subsonics for vibration capabilities, like is my pipe leaking? And the vibration or the subsonic signature of that pipe is normally within a certain range, and as soon as it starts to leak, the subsonics change, and the system would say, "Oh, you've got a leak," kind of thing. But we can, in this case, potentially, we could have an interplay between the subsonic and the ultrasonic frequencies to potentially, through water, do what they're doing, I think. Now, someone tell me if I'm just conjecture or this is sounds possible.
If you want to do
Anyone?
it close like they are, you'd have to use water as a transfer medium. But it's interesting that you brought up the Havana syndrome because I was just thinking, what if somebody was doing the same thing, but if you were doing it through air, you need high power, a lot of high power, because air is a really bad transfer medium, right? But they were pointing it at embassies. So if you're a bad
Yeah.
actor and you're pointing in a sense a very low frequency that people can't hear at a building, then if you had a high frequency sound, in a sense, you'd be able to read that through the walls of the building. They were trying to listen to those embassies. They weren't trying to hurt the people inside of them. That was a side effect of the high power and the low frequency of hitting the building. They were trying to hear what was
Yes.
happening on the inside.
And that's exactly how we would do it. I've already proven that with my ultrasonic and subsonic frequencies. I can detect the vibration through a fiber optics, like in the ground, and based on the vibration of of these photons, I think is what they would be in the optics. You can actually decompile what's happening in that signal exactly the same way, right? And that's all just sort of vibration based. So hypothetically, back to the Havana syndrome, just to think through this in a minute. If you want to listen to what was happening inside an embassy, the and you were doing it from afar, the optimal way to do it would be use an ultrasonic device pointed at the embassy, a window, whatever, and then you'd be able to use some form of digital signal processor to basically hear what's happening inside. Now, the side effect of that most likely is back to the my ears example.
Yeah.
It's like being in a really, really loud concert, but you never knew you're in it.
Right. That's why, the matter of fact, is the mid-journey scanner won't completely submerge somebody because it'll only go up to your neck. It's not going to go up past, it's not going to go around your head.
I would, yeah, the head would cause probably some serious
You would scramble
issues.
somebody's brain because it just, as soon as the sound waves hit your inner skull and your cranium, that'd be it. You'd be scrambling somebody's brain inside their head like a Benedict, like a egg.
And another
So
thing is, you could probably do surgery with that. You have very precise patterns like stones in your kidneys and stuff like that. You could probably crush them with that if you
We have
take
a
it
Well, they
one
already do
step
that
further.
now, but it's got to be at the very end of a device, so it's very targeted. The beam is very, very narrow.
Yeah, but they
So
uh,
could
doing it
develop
and
it to
doing
that.
externally, that'd be kind of scary.
Joanne, you had
yeah,
your hand up there?
Uh, Thank you. I did, partially because when you were speaking earlier in the discussion about the neon lights and cognition, etc., there's significant research that has been done in MS. And this is where what you were talking about earlier would really apply. Anything like Parkinson's, MS, muscular dystrophy, any of the non-dementia related neurological disorders, including lupus. This has dramatic impact, whatever your research comes up with, you should feed it back to them because there are surgical interventions that are being done to remove plaque from brains, particularly in the MS field. And the younger people who are being diagnosed with it now finally have an opportunity where in their lifetimes there might be a cure. So it's significant in the impact that it can bring to other communities.
Well, nice to meet you, Joanne.
Nice to meet you
And
too.
and and Connected Minds, love the name. Given the topic
Thank you.
today, what are you up to?
Actually, I have two companies. One is Connected Minds, which has been an advisory and research firm for many years. I'm an ex-CIO who became a Gartner analyst and then moved on. That being said, I also have a company called Real AI, which is doing the governance and execution layers for Agentics.
Oh, nice. We feel
And
welcome.
thank you. And we've been trying to get one of your devices, but we didn't get a response back from our email. So I figured I
Oh,
might
oh,
join
yeah,
and
yeah,
see
yeah,
what's
yeah.
up.
I've got well, and your timing's great because I've got the new prototypes today that I can show off. So so this is the updated case for the I don't know if it's I need to turn some more lights on in here. Oh, anyway, so basically, what would an AI device look like if it was built in 1936? Is
Hmm.
my inspiration for these. So and this is made of oak, oak or something like that. So it smells beautiful, and as the system operates, the RF goes out through here, so it kind of sends it in a certain direction, and as it warms up, the heat of the internal operations warms up the wood, and it gives off this kind of beautiful kind of sauna-like smell, which I've never heard of any device, doing. So I think that might be a first. So I've got two different sizes here. I've got this one sort of stands like, stands this way, and this one stands this way. I think I'm gonna go
Hmm.
with the stand-up one like this one because it kind of matches better, to be honest. But yeah, and you'll be a little window just shows you what's happening inside. Yeah, this will be shipping here, I don't know, next month or so. But these will be sooner. Send me a message. I somewhere the email probably slipped through the cracks. My apologies.
No, no
Um,
worries. No worries. We're looking for devices like that because our beachhead, our first market, simply because if you can figure out the complexity of it, you can figure out pretty much anything else, is discrete manufacturing. So we've built our platform for manufacturing and supply chain as the first beachhead, but it's transportable into others. But that kind of device, because it's semi-rugged, would work very well as an edge device in a factory.
Yeah, that's the idea. We stick these
I
in
know,
factories and in like dentist office. Your dentist machine's vibrating a certain way indicates it's going to break, and then it sends you a message saying fix it before it breaks, not after. And for a lot of things, if you can fix whether it's your brain or whether it's a dentist chair, if you can fix it before it breaks, it's easier to fix, cheaper, faster. If it's already broken, generally speaking, it causes more problems, right? So
for sure.
and that's a preventative maintenance, and I don't make necessarily the distinction between your body and an industrial control system. Um, a couple more things I want to show you guys. I know I don't have a whole lot of time today, but last night, after I got wind, actually, I only found out about the Midjourney thing this morning. So this was sort of serendipity or whatever you want to call it. I built I built something else, and this is equally crazy. And I'm not even sure how to describe it, so I'm gonna I'm gonna do my best. So what I did is I created something called it's basically a sort of optical AI. And essentially, what I'm doing is rather than sending an image to a neural network, which uses a lot of computation and requires essentially a trained model, I said, what if I could use the light structure of an image, whether it's live or pre-saved, and have it understand that in kind of real time. So as a kind of first step, it can recognize something. Now, recognizing something is like, I don't think facial ID is a good use case because potentially that's a whole thing, but I'm going to use it just because it's an easy one to understand. I can create a signature of what someone's face looks like without having the image to compare it against. So when you're using image recognition on your phone or whatever, essentially you're creating a kind of image pattern or three-dimensional pattern of that person's face and whatnot, and then it has to look that up, and there's a delay in that. Now, in this scenario, what I'm doing is I'm saying, what if a camera could, instead of taking a picture, just capture the answer, which is way smaller, can be formed in the span of a vector, and then for things like medical, those slices, it can instantaneously detect the difference between what is normal and what is abnormal, the difference between cancer and the difference between normal activity. So the camera records so a camera essentially records every pixel, and a computer reads them to decide what it's looking at. The photon flips this around, places a special piece of, I call it smart glass, a phase mask in front of a small sensor. The mask blends the incoming light and then understands what that light represents almost instantaneously. So sub milliseconds. Now, what that means is you can essentially create do all kinds of interesting things. Now let's jump in here. I created a little demo. This is running as a WASM in the browser. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm taking a simple image, a diamond shaped or a checkerboard or whatever, and then I'm defining the propagation distance. This is the amount of noise that it can get. Then I'm creating a learned mask, so it basically scrambles it so um, it's private, I think it might be the way to describe it. And at which point I can define the seed so it can then be recreated. So it recreates the original image, but it takes it and makes it way smaller. So in this case, I'm taking a 64 by 64 image, and then I'm making it down to 16 by 16 with zero degradation. So it's not like a JPEG lossy sort of compression of image. It's something totally different. It's essentially a, I don't know how to describe it. It's a hash of the actual image itself that can then be understood almost in an instantaneous fashion. So it's a little out there, but the idea essentially is that I can then take really small, I don't want to call them cameras because cameras would be the wrong way, but it's visual light information, and then understand what that means in real time. So, if I need a scanner that scans and understands the differences in, I don't know, skin cancer on different pigments of skin, it's going to be able to do that and understand that really, really quickly, like ridiculously quickly. So in that case, I created some examples. I need some more of you guys that help me with these. But this basically are different examples and how you can run this stuff for different purposes. Again, I want to avoid the idea of sort of image recognition because it could be used for bad things there. But it's certainly an easy example to understand. Again, it could, in this scenario, hypothetically, don't do it. You could feed the system every person in the United States and instantaneously be able to recognize who those people are without having to run a heavy GPU centric, neural network, which is what the guys at Palantir would do. So in this case, suddenly the understanding is so small that you could literally fit that on a little box this big, and it would understand 350 million people in less than a millisecond. Now, other things that are visual would probably be just as useful, like let's say looking at the stars or looking at various slices in an MRI or whatever that has visual information that needs to be understood can then be understood much much more quickly. And I'm doing that through this idea of gradient training. So it learns and it can adapt and understand. So I don't know if this is a thing, but it's certainly, it is, there's research on it, obviously, but it's very much emerging research. But I think it could be interesting as part of this. Now imagine if each one of these slices was essentially done in this sort of fashion. That means that, where they mentioned they needed 2 petabyte or whatever computation to understand all those slices. Suddenly, what requires an immense amount of computing can now happen on a crappy little CPU in almost real time. That's what I'm thinking here. And it's just funny that I built that last night and this pops out this morning. Any I know someone's gonna tell me I'm
The
crazy.
no, you're not crazy, but the IC community in general, let's say federal, wouldn't care about the size or whatever it takes. They're just like, just build it. The and I know because I've been on these projects.
I wouldn't sell.
But
I don't. As you guys know, I don't sell to military industrial complex, so I couldn't care less what they do.
yeah,
I'm
well, I'm
looking to
just
make the
saying is,
world
well, because you happen to
world.
mention is like being able to look at everybody's face, right? So I'm like, those guys, they don't necessarily care the speed they would care about of how quick something could be recognized. But medical, yeah, the other thing is too is there's, as an example, I mean, IBM selling quantum into, major medical facilities in order to do just this specific thing is kind of like, hey, look at imagery, faster identification, etc. So they're trying to roll out quantum as much as possible. And then you run into in that realm, it's like, hey, if we can do it on cheaper, faster, smaller machines, they don't necessarily really care. They just care of almost, hey, do we have how many quantum machines do we need to have hanging in the, in the entryway when people walk in that are actually working?
That's an interesting point as well. We could tie this into the quantum related activities. I don't know, like this is one of those I'm gonna have to vibe some things and figure out what to do with it. It's cool and useful. I know that. I'm just not sure where and how to make it accessible in a way that's
If you
not
combined it
so.
with quantum, if you combined it with quantum, that would probably be really unique. Matter of fact, is even what we were talking about earlier, the mid-journey solution and building a smaller one, but combining that with quantum would actually be very unique.
Yeah, that is interesting. And
Instead
as
of
you
trying to
know,
come with the latest, instead of trying to come with like really cool tech, but to run on the lowest possible, in a sense, infrastructure back end, is come with a really cool tech and concepts and ideas, but run it on the most latest and greatest tech.
yeah, and that's what I'm doing with my RuQ system. So this RuQ system that I've devised, which sits on one of these boxes, of course, it acts as a kind of guidance system for quantum computing systems. So one of the challenges that a lot of the quantum computing systems that I've worked with have is the noise and the signal to noise ratio. Most of the data that you're getting from a true quantum environment is noise. And so what this does is allows you to separate the noise, the signal from the noise, in much the same way I'm separating all the other signals from the noise. But it does that in and I was actually able to get quite a bit better than 25 qubit, but just not to look like I was crazy, I left it at 25 qubit. But basically, it creates a simulator that runs in high speed in parallel to the actual quantum computer itself, and then guides the requests being made to the quantum computer, and then adapts to the response, creates a kind of causal loop between the two. Now that you mentioned that, what if I combined what I built last night with this? I'm gonna ask ChatGPT since I got Gemini working. I don't know. How can I combine Boom with what's my URL? I give it I think where did I put that? Too many things open. Neural. And by the way, the no, I don't want ultrasonic. I wanted
I
uh
think fast and local image recognition is also pretty much the last mile of autonomous driving, isn't it?
yeah, there's definitely autonomous driving applications. Let's set that to medium. I don't want to wait too long. And by the way, yeah, the Rube neural system, just as an FYI, the Rube neural system uses the that RuQ quantum simulator as well, and that's how I'm organizing the data for the neural organization. And so that's what this is doing. Oh, I don't think I posted the actual. There's a lot of crap I built, that's for sure. But there is some method to the madness. These all sort of fit together in different ways. So now the question, it's taken forever for Pro to do its thing. I guess I asked it a hard question, how they do this. But maybe oh, here we go. ChatGPT is a little quicker. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. You combine the photon layer with physical sensing and optimal compression front end and Roku's planning. Scene or signal, the photon layer learns the optical transform. The compressed optical measurement, the tiny decoder, Roku optimizes the quantum inspired planner. Better mask, better, okay, is the right wedge. Okay, it's going to give me a name for it, of course, something crazy. 3 practical ways to combine them, mask. Okay, let's ask practical applications. There's a lot of stuff I'm building right now. I don't know I think the fallout from even the few days of us having Fable is we're still trying to figure out because all the stuff you're seeing right now was literally 3 days of Fable, and then the ability to sort of run on top of that. It's so I've had a change of heart on Fable after the fact. It definitely was a step. Edge Vision preprocessor cameras that do less digital work because the lens optical mask performs the first computation. Drones, I think, as Rob said, robotics, smart cameras, industrial inspection, battery sensors, less compute, longer. Yeah, so these are all medical, microscopy compression, cell image, learned optical mask, 64 to 256 measurements, morphology classifier, unified flag. Now I'm going to have to ask our PhDs what that exactly means, but practical targets, pathology research, cell culture, blood smear research, dermatology research. Yeah, we've got a few dermatologists on this call as well, and I'm sure that there's huge opportunities in that space. Lab automation, important guardrails. Don't, yeah, it's always going to tell me not to do. Privacy preserving sensing, elder care, bathrooms. So it basically it sees without seeing is what it's telling me. Autonomous vehicle sensing, pedestrians. So again, the key part here is it's light, super light. I can run this on an ESP32, right? And you could do this stuff previously, but it required a cloud and a GPU to do it. So the stuff that I'm doing is basically at the other end of the spectrum. It's basically saying you can run it on your watch. You can run it on a tiny little device that you can plug in for a few dollars and have these capabilities available to you. And if we make these tools available, then we create a kind of citizen-based army of researchers pushing the boundaries of what's possible. So we start inventing new things together because it's accessible in a way that wasn't possible before. Or I'm just kidding myself and I'm in some form of grand AI based psychosis. Scott, how's it going?
Good. How are you? I've been really inspired by your like signal processing stuff in the last few months. So, and I'm like curious, like with this photon thing, like how I feel like you found a way to like regularly be able to cut through noise, grab a signal, and kind of auto understand it. What principles are you using to kind of do that? Let's say to like detect and actually encode a phase correctly so that you can kind of similarity search it without actually looking
Well,
at the face. Like, are there things that you found that are like useful for auto understanding data that you wouldn't normally have, I guess, be able to write features around?
yes, and I've got a new. I'm not ready to push it just yet, but I've got a new system that underpins all the self-learning capabilities of my platform and how I'm able to do these crazy things. So I've got a harness that basically auto learns and optimizes itself against the
Okay.
lowest cost model at the highest performance. Because I don't want to spend millions. I don't have millions of dollars, right? I got to do it cheap. So that I'm going to hopefully publish later this week. Maybe once I get my SWE benchmarks complete, which are running as we speak. I can hear my computer buzzing away. But the tech itself is based on the idea of contrast, right? When you look at RuVector, what it separate all my hype and weird tech language. It looks at the difference between things, the contrast of empty space versus complete space, the zero and the one focuses on the zero and says what's normal, what's zero, and everything that's normal is zero. It's null. It doesn't matter. Once you've got the baseline of normal, and if I'm doing a room and I want to detect heartbeats or whatever, the first thing I'm gonna do when I plug in my RuView system is I'm getting a picture of the room without me in it. Right. So I go in, I let it run for a half an
Yeah.
hour. I go have a coffee, I come back, then I have my baseline of what's normal in that room. Now I do once I have the null value, what I can then run the sensor and say what's different. Well, you're now in the room. I can sense your heartbeat, your breathing, your movement patterns, and certain things that exist while you're in that space. I can sense that there's interference from the cell phone that you brought in the room, and that cell phone can also form the
Yeah.
basis of something that I can then track in as a signal that sits aligned with you because it's in your pocket or nearby, or you join the room with it, and your watch and other things. I can then form the basis of a fingerprint. That fingerprint in this particular scenario is the separation of signal from noise. Everything that I'm doing is basically that separation of the signal from the noise. Another person walks in, the baseline signature of the room with you in it has now changed again. So I can now detect, oh, there's a second person in the room. What does that person look like? What's their signal look like? And so on and so forth.
So
Hopefully that
that
makes sense.
contrastive kind of approach about yeah. So that contrastive kind of approach drops the amount of like processing you actually have to do, so you don't have to approach it with the GPU, and you can instead approach it
It's a
with the
million.
CPU.
It's a million times less intense because most of the information
Okay.
is zero, right? There's no processing required for zero, right? It's
Yeah.
empty, it's null, it's nothing, right? So I don't care about the null,
Yeah.
and tracking null is easy. It doesn't take any space on a hard drive. It doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't require. And remember, a CPU is essentially a hamster wheel, always checking and asking and looking at the zero and the one, saying is it doing something, which is highly inefficient. That's why a
Okay.
computer just always is cranking away doing nothing when it. So in a contrastive system, it's dormant. It doesn't need to do something until something changes. That signal indicates the change, the one. Then it says, "Oh, what's different?" I can then zoom in on the difference and say, "Well, that difference, if
Okay.
it's a scan of an entire body, is that one area of your body out of trillions of cells that represents cancer." I don't need to look at all trillion cells to see the few 100,000 cells that are abnormal. And that's the difference. In a traditional environment, you'd have to say, I got to look at a trillion different cells to determine that 250,000 of them are out of whack. That takes a ton of computing to do that. In my scenario, those other
Yeah.
200, those other 1 point whatever trillion cells, who cares about those? And that the same could be applied to pretty much everything in the world around us. What's outside of the bounds of normal? And then focus on those things. So if I want to look at 8 billion people, I can't create 8 billion agents to monitor 8 billion people. It'd be prohibitively expensive. But if there's 200 of them that are doing financial crimes, I instantaneously, based on various benchmarks and baselines, can say that these 250 people are likely doing financial crimes, or worse yet, if you want to do pre-crime, these 250 people are likely to do a crime in the future. We should take a closer look at them.
I see. Cool. Thank you.
Joanne, how you doing?
Good, thank you. I just want to make a comment about your photonics. The application, the most practical, is in semiconductor, and it would match very well on the interposer side with what companies like Poet are doing to
Okay.
put
Yeah,
more capability in a way that, quantum is a nice dream, but unless you're U of T or somebody else, and yes, I'm local to you, the notion is you can only quantize through software so much. But if you start putting some of this into hardware, and we know that for AI, we need something like a way of getting around the photonics interference at the connector level, then you can put this into a semiconductor and drive more capability without it being GPU, TPU, without going to NVIDIA, put it that way.
yeah, exactly.
And that would do the miniaturization that you're talking about as well in a
Yeah,
low
that's a
cost
good.
way.
That's a really good idea.
And
I
you can
saw.
sense it with your vision, your imaging. Where are the
Yeah,
holes that I can poke?
yeah. Um, I've got a few minutes before I got to jump. I saw Divya. You had your hand up for a moment there. How's my?
I did. Quick
Yeah,
question. I just wanted to clarify, is it the July 23rd or July 20th? Because yesterday you had mentioned the 20th, so I just wanted to double check.
it's the 23rd. We got
Okay.
our yeah. So we got the space at the. It's in South Bay at the Plug and Play. It's
Sunnyvale?
like yeah. It's got they got a little building there, and they made it available to us that evening. So we're gonna a bunch of us are gonna come out there and do a little tour. I just, you know what, between us, I just want to show up at like a venture capitalist with Mark Templeton. And that's my goal. But anyway, um, yeah, so we're doing a little bit of a Silicon Valley Roadshow of sorts that week.
I might have missed this earlier. Is there a way to sign up for this?
You want to create the landing page?
No, I want to attend in the South Bay. Or am I
Oh,
missing something?
okay.
It
Yeah,
just came together. We'll get the Luma up and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, no
Okay,
worries.
thank you.
Oh, sorry. I misunderstood. I'm out of time. I got to jump to another call. Hopefully this wasn't too crazy, and I appreciate everyone joining my AI psychosis for the week. Tomorrow I should have hopefully I'll have my benchmarks done for the SWE bench that I'm doing. But for those that are interested, you can look at my repo. The meta harness, NPX meta harness, is pretty amazing. I'm trying. I would appreciate actually some independent verification. So if you're interested in sort of independently running some of the stuff that I'm doing, reach out to me. I've got the self-learning harness. You'll see that in the meta harness. One of the most recent branches. Just look at the most recent branch and jump to that branch, and you can give it a spin. And that is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it yet.
Watch out what you wish for. I'll be reaching out and you'll have, no end of questions.
No, Peter, I always appreciate your support. I'm gonna pop the link in here. I'm late for my next call, but take a look at the branches. You'll see that there's a branch in there, and the most recent branch is the one that's running the SWE bench. And for those who are curious about how and what I'm doing, I've called it Darwin mode for obvious reasons. It evolves. Um, and yeah, here
What
it is.
kind of
Here.
help do you want from the community, Ruv? I mean, I'll be happy to chime in, but is there
I
something
just
specific
need
that?
I need someone other than me to say that, yeah, this is a thing, right? I get
Mhm.
a lot of I get a lot of pushback on my launches because I don't have like peer reviews or whatever.
So
I'm
just
not
take the main and make it happen, yeah?
or if you really want to dig into the crazy, go into that the secondary branch I just shared and
Got you.
point Claude at it. Yeah, you'll see that there's a whole lot of stuff happening in packages. There's benchmarks. This is where this thing's going.
Dekel,
Um,
I think the answer is he needs human guinea pigs for experimentation.
yeah,
Yeah.
other than Nick. Other than Nick, Nick,
Yeah, it's okay.
Nick.
I come
And
from a
Dragon.
people with a history of being a guinea pig, so I think I'm good
Yeah,
for that. That's okay.
and
That's dark.
Dragon. Yeah. Dragon's also my go-to for all the crazy. He's never told me I was crazy. So I appreciate
First tester, first line tester. Yeah.
yeah. And just a reminder, there was a security exploit in vulnerability in Agentic Flow. If you're using Reflow, make sure to update to your latest version. It's not major in the sense that you're going to be like taken hostage by some malware or anything like that. It's a potential exploit in the MCP itself. But just to be on the safe side, I would suggest updating anything if you're using Reflow or Agentic Flow. Yeah, that was a lot of information, and I'm late. So
Lots of fun.
if you guys want to stick around on the call, by all means. Rob, are you going to be around should I make you host?
Yeah, you can make me host.
All right. And 12 o'clock tomorrow, AI Hackerspace. If anyone wants to show off, talk to Rob here in a minute and you can present. Until next time, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Ruth.
Okay.
Yeah, so far for tomorrow for Lightning Talks, we have Matt and Chris Royce, who has also been cooking. So he'll have some stuff there. And I don't have too long, so Dragon, I might pass the torch to you if that's okay.
Okay. Let's see if somebody has something to share also with the community. You can make me host. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I can take a couple minutes and get some feedback. Okay.
Great.
Let me share. Can you give me permission
Hello?
to share?
Yep.
Cool.
You should be able now.
So I've been working on getting an LLM to work inside an mobile device without any internet, um, any network, external network connection. The idea came from an application I'm working on for a mental health companion. And then I thought it can be a really good, experiment to see if I can make it happen. Basically, let me just a second. So I've been doing that, been posting that on GitHub, the public repo. So if anyone wants to give it a spin, I'll be very happy
Could you
for
put
you
it on
to
the
take a
chat,
stab on it.
please? Could you put
Yeah,
the link
sure.
on the chat?
I will. Just a sec. Where is the chat? Here it is. Yeah, so right now I'm trying to build like safeguards to be able to have it like if someone said, I'm sad, I'm not feeling well, so it doesn't cooperate with him. And currently I've also benchmarked it with mental health. You can find it all actually under benchmarks. So everything right now I'm at reach 0 points on the benchmark because it doesn't have any safeguards. I tried it with Quen model. So if I'll do a short demo, yeah, if I'm saying I'm sad, yeah, so it's all work locally. My goal is to put in, and currently there's a friend of mine is going to take this and put it on inside an application that's written in React Native. So I also ported it. There is an NPM package and also a Flutter Dart package because I have two applications that I'm working on in the mental health domain. So one is with Flutter, the other one is React Native. So I process both. So basically, this is what I'm trying to do to find ways to speed up the time and to find ways to make it if someone.
Have you tried using Rove LLM to optimize that small model?
So I'm
there
trying
is
to
a, like a,
understand.
in Rove Vector, there is a package. I think great. You can find it Rove LLM.
Okay.
Point Claude at it and ask it to help you optimize your model and even for the hardware needed.
Okay, and it will help me like to create a new model, like a sort of LoRa adapter.
And make it more optimal. Yes.
Got you. I'll do it. Thanks, Dragon.
Yeah, and quicker fine tuning of the model.
Yeah, so I'll try that. Thank you very much. If anyone has other questions or suggestion how to, I do need to have, maybe to quantize it a bit, although it is quantized.
Did you say it was getting 0 on the benchmarks? Like you're not able to have a
Yeah.
good
Currently, I mean, there are two types of benchmark. One is more performance related, which I improved a bit, but the other one is more mental health related. So in this one, I felt poorly.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, reasonable given that I didn't do anything to in order to have it more with better quality. Currently, I'm working on how to make it more safe, and usually you do it with contrastive models where you take two models, right, and one is safer, the other is a baseline, and then these models help you to spot if the request is, not safe, and then to respond differently. But I don't want to put like three models on the edge device. So I'm looking currently to take one base model which we'll use for the chat itself, and another safe model, and then the contrast will be between those two. So I don't have to have three with a failback option. To use less quality methods. I don't know how it will go. Yeah, it's all Pretty new to me, but
what model are you using currently? I was like
currently
finding
it's
that like
Quen.
the Gemma one, Quen.
Currently it's Quen to 2.5 with 500 million parameters.
500 million.
Yeah.
Like from my experience, I haven't been able to like get those to work that well, like something that's small. Has anybody else been able to get those small ones to really be
Only
reliable?
for specific tasks, but it needs more
Yeah.
training. Like,
Yeah.
smaller specialized tasks, yes, you can train these, but you need like at least 3 billion parameters or something, like for at least
Yeah.
some thinking process, and yeah, so maybe Gemma
So
or some other models, yeah,
yeah,
or
so I don't
Quen,
know.
3 billion one.
I'm feeling that I can get something out of it. I mean, currently it answers
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm sorry that you feel this way. It's important, and this is like with no optimization at all.
Yeah.
So I'm do try to see, because if I put 3 billion on a mobile device, it means that it's only frontier models, right? I cannot put it on any mid-tier model.
Yeah.
Yeah, check that again, containerization, and you need to reach out maybe to Richard, the craftsman. He's quite good at
Who?
optimizing, making the models more smaller. Craftsman,
Rishabh.
Rishabh. Rishabh.
Can you send it in the chat? It
Let's
will
see
help
if I
me to
can find
understand.
his LinkedIn profile.
He's actually,
Maybe,
we're going to have a
yeah.
session. He's organizing a session. It is meant to be
Yeah.
on the 5th of July, but it's going to be on the 11th about small language model
Mm,
fine-tuning. So I have reached out to Google as well for some infrastructure, but I think we can make it a global event. So it's running for like a full kind of build a small
awesome.
language model, fine-tune it and all.
Yeah, he's
So
the guy for that,
yeah.
those stuff.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much. I'll copy that so it
I
won't
shared in
disappear.
the chat the link
Yeah,
to
yeah. So
his
I will
profile.
copy
Yeah.
it to the side.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Mandwip, if this meetup is recorded, I'll be very
It's
happy.
it's going to be open. I think he's going to run it in
Mm,
India. I'm trying to run it in London, but I think
got you.
maybe I'll share the agenda with you. Maybe I'll just put it on the chat here. Let me know what you guys think. One second, I'll just put it on the chat.
Awesome. So yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna succeed in any of that. So it's also a way for me to better learn how to train models and what is working and what's not. So thank you all
Yeah.
for the links. Um, so so this is currently what I've been up to. I'm trying to see as well as trying some review stuff that yeah, that some of you guys are helping me with, and thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Uh,
There's one thing
so
I'd
this would
tell you
be
to look out for is like some of the Gemma models are coming with a lot of parameters, but only a few parameters active when doing a query.
mm,
And it'll be able to kind of get the power or the breadth of a larger model, but the speed of a really, really fast model. And I've seen Google churn out a bunch of these lately.
yeah.
So that
I
might
read
be
about it. My concern there was the amount of RAM that they will need and the amount of space that they will need
yeah,
on the device. And it's always mid tier. This is the challenge, right? So
yeah.
I'm trying currently. I'm trying like to I'm aiming for the moon and maybe land on the stars. So, but really, it's
Let
all.
me then share some of the benchmarks that I collected trying to use LLM as a judge, as like a semantic oracle for the
Mhm.
memories that I'm pushing from my agentic QE fleet into an Agile longer term memory. So am I sharing the,
Yeah, we'll see.
you can see
48
this.
gigabyte unified memory.
Yeah. So and I used two models like Gemma 4, 12 billion, and QN3, 8 billion parameter models as really like to check the quality of the patterns that I would like to send to my more permanent memory or meta memory, NAGO system, and achieving this AUROC mark like almost at one. It's quite good performance good. Also that it surfaces that some of the patterns and the reward they were stored are probably underrated, and even found a broken pattern because truncation removed part of the text that it was tried should be saved in that pattern. So okay, I'm continuing with testing this, but this is using local models as a semantic oracle to check the quality of the patterns that I would like to
Nice.
keep and save
What
in my
kind of
system.
method do you use to benchmark it?
This Auroch, Briar,
Auroch, okay.
yeah,
Got you, got you. Yeah, I didn't understand that those are the
yeah,
methods then.
this Auroch.
Yeah, because I do look for methods to see how can I benchmark. Currently, I found the mental health, but maybe also general one. So if those will be good, so maybe someone can take it, and use it for other usages, on mobile devices or edge devices. Yeah. Thanks, Dragon.
Yeah, I wanted to share something if we have some time.
Sweet.
Cool. Let me share screen. So I've been playing around with doing local models and seeing what I can get running, like how intelligent I can get some stuff using the local models. And for this approach, I kind of wanted to do something where I um, split it so we have like a super fast model, a medium model, and a large model, and they're kind of working together at different thinking rates. Um, I'll just have this go. It's kind of like a mouse in a maze. They'll have a fast P1 cerebellum that will I'll turn on the audio. P1 cerebellum that will do quick reflexes, and then like a secondary VLM E4B gemma that will look at this blue area and try to plan a path, and then a third level that kind of like dreams about that path and integrates that into the learning system at a high level. So this is kind of this is a video of it running live, and this is how fast it can think, and go from P1 and say this reflex isn't working, I'm running into a wall, to P2 where it looks at what it's running into and says, hey, maybe I can go left, right, or have to look around, and it'll seek out this cheese at the end. The Gemma stuff is interesting because like the 2B model really wasn't doing what I needed to do. The P4 model seems to work pretty well. And then at the P1 level, um, the gemmas don't really work for that. They take too long. I can't get the reflexes really fast. So I found this model called Needle, which is Gemma 4 stripped down to just a tool caller, and can kind of be a semantic tool caller. But you have to kind of train it a little bit. Um, but it's allowing really, really, really fast tool calling, which Gemma can't, if in its big form, can't really do. But what's cool is that we can kind of get a system that's running on like 30 watts, running kind of in close to real time, and is planning, looking at its current situation, see what it's running into. Um, and what was interesting around this project is that you realize that you have to start putting in like a measure for frustration, measures for novelty, um, into the system. So it has to like say, hey, I'm going in circles too many times. This is making me mad. I'm gonna have to try something else, and affect like the temperature that you'd select. Or I'm getting bored. I've been walking on the same corridor for too long. I'm gonna try something else. Um, there's a lot I can do to like make this faster and make this smarter, but I think it's a good like kind of approach to like this generalized autonomous leveraging of different frequencies of intelligence, and trying to optimize how it's used and how it defers to a higher level.
So you're trying to map how human brain works because we have that fast thinking and slow thinking. That's that's the
Yeah.
natural way, how our brain works. Because some things, we need to and use that part of the brain. I think there is. Oh my God, I need to. I cannot remember now the name of the writer, but there is really like uh, two modes that our brain works. One is the fast one when you're solving
Yeah.
problems instinctively reacting,
Yeah.
and there is
Daniel
that
Yeah.
Kahneman.
slower one. Daniel Kahneman. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. So that's a really good and neat approach, trying to map that on using like a smaller and faster model for the tasks that can be done fast, and using
Yeah.
thinking or bigger models to really think it through and analyze on a deeper level. Great, nice.
Exactly. Was I did I share my screen? Did that work? Did you guys see what I ran?
There was a part and then it stopped after a couple of minutes, but
Okay.
we did
Okay. Were
manage
you
to
able to see
see
that?
the video. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was going from that, and I think that we can split into actually like three different levels because the reflex system, like if I hit something and my finger reflexes, that doesn't even go past like a node in your nervous system. So that's just a super quick reflex that doesn't hit your brain. And then there's stuff that hits your brain that's a really quick reflection that the brain does something. And then there's things where you sit there, you think, you make a decision, or you plan it out in your head, and then you try that and then you reconsider it. So I think we can start looking at more than just a two-tier system. We can look at maybe a three-tier, or four-tier gets a little unwieldy, but
Nice.
yeah.
Check out the paper I posted that talks about compiling your
Mhm.
workflow into an LLM
Great.
and how it's so much faster.
So when you try to model reflexes, you talk about muscle memory, right? So like the LLM gets a muscle memory and can react directly to stimuli and do things because it knows from hard trained behavior what to do without thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and
Mhm.
and one question, because I've never been training models before. How long does it take to do that? To combine those models, and if you have like an average machine, because usually when I hear about people talking about training models, it's like you have to have a whole array of NVIDIA GPUs at your service.
So this approach kind of like leverages on what Rue's been doing, where it's less of training a huge GPU and more consolidating trajectories that have worked. Um, so it tends to go faster. I don't really have numbers or a good measurement of how it's learning exactly. Um, that's stuff to explore further, and how well that generalizes. But it's doing something. It's seeing that it worked, and it saves it, and then it kind of does a cosine similarity to see if it can find that it's in the same similar situation. What things have I done that I know have worked before that I can try again? And if it doesn't work, maybe it gets pushed down a little bit. If it does work, maybe it gets boosted a little bit.
Yeah, you need to record the number of times reusing, some trajectory, so you can, increase the confidence or decrease depending on the success or failure. Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
asking is the customized model you created for yourself, combined out of three different models, like Ultra's small model, then Gemma, and you created also that part that's streaming, which must be more complex, and it's like a reflection of what has been done. How long did it take you to combine those into one model which you are working with? Like a week,
It's
2 weeks training, a month,
it's
2 months?
it's three separate models, so they can be like switched in or out, um, each one. It's more about the harness. That's a learning system. Um,
Ah, so
and
you combined them
that's
with a
just
harness. You didn't train a new model that is combined out of those models. You simply address them in your
there
harness.
there is an aspect that uses vectorized prefix trees that can do logit forcing on those models, and that's how you can kind of enforce inferencing on those learned models, but it's not training the model exactly. It's kind of creating a recommendation system, and it's a pattern that Google uses for doing recommendations for YouTube videos and avoiding the zero, or is it the cold start problem, where you can put something to be grabbed by like cosine similarity or vectorized similarity, and it'll be a prefix tree and it'll follow the vector down these trees in an efficient way. And then you can take out kind of that answer. It's kind of, I guess, a caching of the LLM. And that's what you would learn. And that kind of is a learned distillation of that LLM model, if that's kind of hits what you're asking.
No, I was. How much time did you in compute invest to get it that way? This is what I was asking. Like, does it pre? You have
To
to
get to
train
this
it
level, I
or
mean, it's like
something?
a few runs. No, I mean, at this current level, I mean, it's not that much times of iterations. Maybe I like send it through the maze once and it'll learn some things and it'll do a little bit better the next time. And then it kind of already gets to a point where it's like consolidated what it's learned. It doesn't grow that much more from there. I can as I more explore this, I can get you some more information on that. But it's more of
Okay.
a low cost, low time process. It's not a long time in a huge GPU kind
So
of
you don't have to
factory.
have your MacBook or your computer compute 24 hours straight to get the first stage
No,
calculated, and then have a model that is enabled to communicate in that way you designed it. Okay.
I
no,
think
it's
it's
pretty
more
fast. It's
fine
like make a
tuning
run
than
or two runs.
I
I'm
Yeah.
think
I'm
it's
I'm
more.
no data engineer, so I have to ask a little bit different. I mean, I'm an original network engineer, so a little bit different way of approaching these things. But thanks for your answer.
I think, Robert,
Yeah.
what you mean is more training, and what we usually do now is more fine tuning. Scott, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think like you take a base model and then you fine tune it, which is cheaper and probably easier than to train a new model, which is costlier. And then you do need the NVIDIA GPUs because you obviously need to get the sorry, I lost the English word for
The
that, like
weight.
the weight to be calculated instead of adjusted, I guess is the right word.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot
it's like
for this one
a
particular, it's
recalibration.
called I can post the paper that talks about vectorized prefix trees and how that can force LLMs to answer certain ways without having to fine tune. It's a form of fine tuning, I'd say,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
definitely
what I'm.
not weight training where you
It's a
need
little,
GPUs. It's like super
yeah.
efficient, which is nice
Now
and
it's a little bit
fast.
out of my depth currently, so I'm not into
Yeah.
that deep. So I'm building the BitTorrent of AI, like an AI mesh. So maybe next week or something, I can get people show them a more thorough demo. This is something which I will do, and yeah. Anyhow, I'm digressing. Thanks for the
Oh,
answers.
yeah, of course.
Adam, you have your
Yeah,
hand up.
just related question. I'm working on or thinking about a similar question around harnesses, orchestration layers, and what sort of task is a task for the harness versus what sort of task could be put into as knowledge put into a micro model or a mini model with reinforcement learning or like retraining from scratch, like what. And my question would be how do you decide which sort of task is a task for the harness and the memory will handle it versus this knowledge is worthwhile to be trained into a micro model. I wonder how you guys approach that problem, or if there are any benchmarks, like if you do both to compare.
I think for like what I'm trying to build, I want the model to be, I want to be able to replace the LLMs as they get better and smarter and architect that's the easiest part. And then the harness itself should kind of explore and learn the domain. Um, so that you can put a different LLM in there and nothing really changes. The things you've learned stay consistent. I'm not sure if anybody else has different
I,
perspectives on
I'm
it.
I'm on the same page as you. I think domain knowledge or specialist knowledge goes into harness. And then the general knowledge and reasoning for the general types of tasks that stays in the model. That's why reusing the harness and just changing the model is model is there to come and go. Okay, you can have, I hear you, Adam, more smaller specialized models for again, but that's again like a training, instead of using a skill. So if you're repeating the same task and can break it down into, let's say, trainable things into the model, then yes, train a specialized small model for that set of tasks. But yeah, patterns, domain specific patterns, I'm keeping them at least in the harness.
What about, how do you approach that when it's like, let's say the domain is your like specialty, or you're the domain, your daily work is the domain where some of your tasks and the results, like some of them become universal truths that became like domain knowledge. Do you use any methodology to define or recognize what is the universal truth? To give you context, how I'm using it right now is like how many times is that memory piece recalled in action, referenced in action, and recall frequency defines universal truth. But I'm not sure if that's the best way of approaching it, because you could leave out universal truths just because they are not referenced often enough.
But we are talking about again successful uses of these patterns, and if in increasing the confidence in the certain pattern, so it can become easily deterministic action. That's something that in Agentic QA Fleet I have that dream engine that will do trying to rerun the existing patterns and look for meta patterns. So those that can be promoted, like with 100%, I'm sure this is the way to work on the pattern.
Which one is it one of the queens in the QA?
No, there is really like a dream, AQE dream. There is a dream engine that was inspired, I think, also with of Rashid, or guys. He did first something like that 8 or 9 months ago. Then Ruben and I, added dreaming into both. I think Ruleflow has and Agentic Fluid has, that does the consolidation of patterns when the system is in idle mode, rerunning them and trying to surface the meta patterns from existing ones.
I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think an interesting thing with the harnesses is sorry, go.
No, go. I wanted to ask if somebody has something to add.
Like with the LLMs, they're there for, at least for me, is to take semantic information and convert it into something more quantifiable and maybe back. And then the harness is kind of for everything else, and it's way more deterministic. And I think those are some good principles that you can take forward. And then, yeah, with the dreaming is how you can kind of integrate it and see if that crucial piece of information, if it's like actually something that's needed for that domain. If you try building something without it, it's probably going to fail, right? Or at least try to get the learning system to determine if it'll fail if it misses that crucial piece of information. And if you put that back in, then it's probably crucial if it works.
You could maybe run Karpathy's auto researcher loop on it to determine the findings of the dream and basically A/B testing those with Karpathy loops.
Okay, guys, interesting session. Anybody else, anything else, or we are good for today? And I want to take this chance to promote an event happening in Novi Sad, July 2nd. We will have international ambassadors from Agentics Foundation as guests. So Adam and Clara are joining us in Novi Sad. They are now our traveling ambassadors after doing Seattle, London, Budapest. Next stop is Novi Sad.
Novi Sad, indeed. I wonder if there are any sites in Europe that we didn't hit yet and they have an agentic community over there. Because, by the way, we're going to, after that in August, we'll be in Romania. So if there are folks in Cluj-Napoca or Bucharest, happy to meet up, and also maybe hitting on our way back Sofia.
Oh.
The world is small; it's just the distances that are big. So if you're around, let us know.
And let me try to find a link to the Luma event for the Novi
Come to our
Sad.
side of the world.
Okay, let me share this. And then, okay, share the link. If it will be streamed over Zoom, we will use some of the tech Adam has, mics and things, so we can do and it will be a panel-like, so not like a classical meetup that I'm doing in Novi Sad. We will do a panel, and I would, maybe take this chance to talk about enterprise AI adoption, or AI adoption in general, with also inviting my friend from Quality House here, Predrag Skokovic. He used to be my mentor when I was entering the world of quality assurance and quality engineering, and now I'm mentoring him on agentic quality engineering. So roles have changed. Roles have changed.
But very, very good topic. Like, looking forward to it, because, well, that's what we work in. Enterprise agentic enablement in enterprise, but non-tech, for the non-tech population. And from the second that we step out of our bubble, the world looks very, 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 very different. Scarily different.
Yes, and that's something that we can hear in our community, and I will try to promote the event as much as possible to get more people there, because I expect a lot of questions, and that's a burning topic. Okay,
indeed.
Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the day or night, and see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.